now. But there's a public perception that that was part of a apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f yourself.
But
go f yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me ask you then.
Elon's been under a lot of pressure recently because he's trying to allow the First Amendment to dictate his platform. So naturally, the media just keeps calling him anti-Semitic for his tweets and opinions and is using that as leverage to try to bankrupt Twitter by getting major companies to pull their money.
Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company. And the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode. I'm going to do a bonus episode later today, break it into two smaller ones because I want to review the Gavin Newsom, Ron DeSantis debate. But today I chopped this 4 or 5 minute clip into a bunch of clips for copyright reasons. But Elon Musk is saying that advertisers, including Disney's Bob Iger, he says, hey, Bob, if you're here, they're trying to destroy his company because he won't cave on certain First Amendment policies. They're claiming it's because of anti-Semitism on the platform. I'll talk about all that later because I want to do a reaction, but let's get through some of the clips first. And here's that first one with curses. If you don't want to hear the F word, it's coming. I didn't want to censor it. I don't know. This is real American history happening in real time. This is what he said.
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
When Elon first came out, he said that the Anti-Defamation League was basically working to destroy Twitter by getting rid of a bunch of advertisers. This was months ago. And if you want to know who the Anti-Defamation League is, go to their Wikipedia and look at it. I'm just not allowed to read it in the United States of America because this isn't a free country. And they'll call me anti-Semitic for reading their own description. So you can go figure out who they are and what they do. It's on their Wikipedia. But in general, he said months ago that the ADL was trying to get advertisers to get away from him. And then should I talk about it now or should I wait? Well, we'll play another clip, then we'll keep talking because I got 9 of them to go through.
If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
F-Y.
I understand that, but there's a reality too, right?
I made a joke on my Instagram reel. I was like, I love how Elon's being so gangster, dressed like a New York City lesbian. I just thought that was funny. And some comments thought it was hilarious. Other people were like, oh, you of all people calling him a lesbian. I'm like, let's correct the record. I didn't call Elon Musk a lesbian. I said he's dressed like a New York City lesbian. Like when I wear my grandma's tablecloth, shirt and people make fun of it, it's funny. I'm not saying he's a lesbian. I just think it's funny that he's dressed like a lesbian in New York City. All right, let's play another clip. Then we got to get serious. This is a real news show here.
No, totally. No. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company.
And you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
Elon seems, I'm not going to say like nervous or anything, but it seems like the threat of them destroying Twitter is real, where he's like, listen, if you guys want to destroy my company, you destroyed my company and everybody's going to know, and we're going to document it in great detail. It seems like it's real. I guess I'll talk about it now before I play a few more clips. When Elon Musk came out a couple of weeks ago, he tweets a lot of stuff. He talks about politics. He talks about gender norms and like transgendering kids. Like Elon gets into the weeds of the cultural, I would say, debates of our times over the last 2 years, at least, definitely during COVID. And he came out and he said that he noticed that I'm going to paraphrase it, but he noticed that there were Jewish groups that were pushing a lot of anti-white rhetoric, and he didn't like that. And the next day, they said that there was anti-Semitic stuff running ads on anti-Semitism on Twitter, and they tried to run a story that was like totally unrelated, like, oh, look at all this anti-Semitism on Twitter, as if making us believe that the reason that they're doing that is not because he said that. You know, the second that he said that he found that a few Jewish groups, he said it, yes, it's the ADL, but also other ones too that I noticed. You know, he didn't just say it was just them. All of a sudden, there's this totally separate anti-Semitism problem on Twitter. And the Anti-Defamation League was apparently, according to Elon, the first one who tried to get advertisers to boycott months ago. Is that one of those just spontaneous, you can't notice that coincidences that happen all the time? It's like, is that hate speech to say that that's what happened? Like Elon Musk came out. You're not allowed to say that. You're allowed to say that there's white groups attacking Jewish groups or black groups, or you're allowed to say everything, but you're definitely not allowed to say that Jewish groups even exist. And you're definitely not allowed to say that there's some of them that exist in the world that push rhetoric against America or white people or whatever. Like that's something you definitely can't say. So I'm just calling it like I see it, being honest. I don't think it's coincidental that within 24 hours of him tweeting that, which is something way more ballsy than most GOP members would ever do. They would never say stuff like that. They just wear cowboy hats and sell your country out and say they're doing capitalism while they're doing socialism for pharmaceuticals. Elon Musk says that, and all of a sudden Media Matters has this spontaneous story of, oh my gosh, look at all the anti-Semitism on this platform. And now, the CEO of Disney and others, I guess, according to Elon, I don't know, he said Bob, I'm guessing he's talking about Bob Iger of Disney. Now they're trying to pull their ads out and essentially bankrupt the company. I'm going to play a few more clips and we'll move on.
No, totally. No, actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
I guess I already played that one, but I ran it back. So he's like, listen, you guys want to destroy Twitter? You could do it. I'm not backing down. Go F yourself. You're not going to blackmail me over money. He's claiming, I mean, I don't know to what extent he says he's being blackmailed. Maybe he's saying they're coming to them and just saying like, hey, Elon, if you don't, change your policy on the First Amendment, how you try to uphold the Constitution of America, if you don't work within our guidelines of what it means to be hate speech and our guidelines of what it means to be free speech, and you don't play ball, then, bye-bye goes your company, because we got enough companies on our side to bankrupt you. And Elon says, I'm not gonna cave, but if you guys want to do that, I'm just going to tell everybody you did that. And listen to what he says here.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things and that they were inappropriate things and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform, right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
Not gonna lie, it's super gangster. He's like, let's see how Earth responds. Okay, you can say that, but let's see what Earth says. Bam, while I'm dressed like a New York City lesbian. What? I'm rich. I could wear fur coats. He looks like Cameron. Let's go, Elon. You got $100 billion. It's time to start wearing the mink coats. I love it. You can't unsee it now. He's got the chain. Dude, I want to party with Elon. Stop playing. Who's that guy? I don't watch enough TV. Like the Sorkin guy? Like, who is that? Like, just media puppet number 5,472, just asking the very generic questions. Let's keep it moving.
We'll both make our cases.
Right.
And we'll see what the outcome is.
What are the economics of that for you? I mean, you have enormous resources, so you can actually keep this company going for a very long time. Would you keep it going for a long time if there was no advertising?
I mean, if the company fails because of an advertiser boycott, it will fail because of an advertiser boycott. And that will be what bankrupted the company, and that's what everybody on Earth will.
It's interesting because with all the money that Elon Musk has, right? He's the richest person in the world. Even the richest person in the world has to play ball, as we're seeing over the last few weeks to some extent. And when you don't completely play ball, this is what they do to you. He has all the money in the world. They're like, but your company runs off of this, and, we have this, and, it's going bye-bye if you don't. And he's like, all right, well, if that's what it is, that's what it is. But all I have on my side, Elon says, I'm going to tell people. You know what I'm saying? Elon has more status than them. He has more respect than them. And he has a bigger reach than them. And here's what I'm saying. I'm not, by the way, for those who are going to misconstrue this, I'm not telling you to like put a computer chip in your head or go drive a Tesla or trust Elon Musk for everything he does. I'm just calling it like I see it. Okay. I think at this point, any billionaire or politician that's running a lot of the show, you should be skeptical of, and you shouldn't put your faith in them like you put in your family. They're not your family. They're not Jesus. Whether it's Trump or Elon Musk, I'm not advocating for people to like worship them. Just call it like you see it. If they're going crazy on Trump, say they're going crazy on Trump. But you don't have to idol worship. But at the same time, you don't have to freak out about what's going on. On that case with Elon, he has respect based off of what he says, what he does, that you can't buy. Even though he has the money, like look at like Mark Zuckerberg. Does Mark Zuckerberg have the respect of Elon Musk? Is he as popular, as cool? He's not. Why? Because there's some things that are above humanity. It's called God, and it's also just called the golden rule, perhaps. Treat others the way you want to be treated. You can't fake the funk. I don't know what you want to call it, but Mark just isn't that guy. I mean, it's kind of cool that he's doing jujitsu. He's, his brand is getting a little bit cooler, but like Bezos is now getting jacked, hanging out with chick with big bazungas or whatever, his new girl, having fun at Coachella. Like he's starting to have a little more fun. Bill Gates, ew, you know what I'm saying? Like Bill Gates, maybe liberals like him, but you can't, no matter how much money you have, or no matter how many companies you own, if you're not that guy, you're not that guy. And I think that pisses off certain people with money, where Elon knows even with all the money in the world, he's not going to be able to keep Twitter afloat if the whole world turns against him. So he's like, what I do have is my word, and I'm going to document exactly what happened, and we'll let Earth decide. You could say this, you got all the money, you got all the power, you could destroy Twitter, but I'm going to say you destroyed Twitter. I'm going to show you how you did it. I'm going to be transparent about the situation, and then everyone's going to hate you, and it's like, it is what it is. Like, that's all I have. Even though I have all the money, I think one of his most useful tools is the fact that he's more authentic than most other billionaires. And whether you trust him or not, I'm not asking you to. He is very authentic. If you listen to some of his podcasts, I don't agree with everything he says, but I am impressed by some things he says, including the last clip I'm going to play, which isn't now, but you'll hear it. I mean, he's got bars, man. He's got some real quotes.
What do you think then of the? This goes back to the idea of trust, though.
Then it'll be gone, and it'll be gone because of an advertiser boycott.
But you recognize that some of those people are going to say that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. And I just wonder and ask you and think about that for a second.
Tell it to the judge.
But the judge is going to be...
the judge is the public.
Some people don't feel comfortable. Well, what if people don't feel comfortable on Facebook or YouTube? I don't feel comfortable on YouTube because Cenk Uyghur's there. Ew, he reminds me of a water buffalo. He yells at me all the time. I don't feel comfortable with certain opinions, but like, it's like they play this stupid game. Like, oh, everyone's so comfortable on Instagram. Everyone's so comfortable on TikTok, but they're just so uncomfortable on Twitter. Dude, go like, at a certain point, it's like Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But Elon's just like, you know what? I'm not even Christian. Go F yourself. I'm gonna just go that direction. Not advocating for it, but like the smarminess of them, like, they don't feel comfortable with you. They feel more comfortable when they're being locked in their house and forced masks, and they can't go to work without a vaccine. That's real comfortable. Dude, shut up. These guys suck. And this is what they can't ever buy. They're on television all the time. Nobody likes them. They're not popular. They can't sell tickets. Like, you're on television all the time. Do you know how like lame you have to be on television all the time and still nobody likes you that much? Like, there's so many people like that. Like, they've been on CNN for 20 years. You look at their Facebook, Instagram page, like no one cares about them. It's like, why? You're being blasted in people's face all the time. It's because you suck. You guys just read like generic things. You're like, I wear suits. I'm wearing a suit, so you should trust me. Cool, dude. Wow. Yeah. How's your brand going? 2 more clips.
Disney is making a mistake.
Yes.
And they're going to boycott Disney?
They already are.
Well, there are some that are for lots of different reasons, but you think that this is going to, that you have the, this goes to actually the interesting of power and leverage.
Let the chips fall where they may.
I don't know. It's pretty gangster. Let the chip, like he kind of reminds me of like an emperor from a movie. And if that sets off your red alarm, I know some people will be like, well, that makes me think that it's think that way. I'm not begging for you to trust Elon Musk. I'm just analyzing the situation. I don't think you should put your like godlike faith into billionaires and politicians. At the same time, call a spade a spade. If it's Trump, if he says like build a wall and you think a wall is a good idea, then it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's kind of gangster. It's kind of gangster what he's doing.
Because we're talking about power and influence, and
I'm saying what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Fuck them.
Dude, that's one of my favorite quotes. Like, I kind of want to post that on Instagram and do another thing, but then everybody in the comments could be like, oh, Elon's a shill, Namu's a shill. I'm like, listen, I'm not asking you to put a computer chip in your head. I don't drive energy. I don't agree. I mean, I get the idea of it, but I'm going to drive gas because I see the push for it. There's some things that I do think Elon's a little sneaky about, but I do love the authenticity of this quote. Like it doesn't feel like someone reading a script. Like, listen, I'm gonna drop it again. Like that's a real quote for the ages. I'm just saying, I like that. It's inspiring.
Because we're talking about power and influence, and
I'm saying what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Fuck them. Okay?
Come on, that's kind of fire. You got to admit, even, that's not fire. That's fire. Anyway, so long story short, Elon gets Twitter, which is a wild thing to do. He does that transparency where there was that guy, Yoel Roth or whatever. He starts releasing emails showing how people are working with the government, etc. At Twitter, or it's like basically just a backdoor portal for it. That was kind of cool that he just like transparently released old emails. Like, I'm sorry, that's pretty ballsy. And I guess how I look at Elon and Trump and other people now is I don't expect anything. Like if Elon, say he says something super real and he almost loses his company for it, that's like a bonus, because if Elon tomorrow turned into Bill Gates and did everything he did, I wouldn't be surprised. It's like Milei of Argentina. I said, is this guy going to turn out to be a puppet? Is he going to be the real deal? I don't think he's going to be the real deal. I'm not hating. I'm just saying my intuition tells me he's probably not going to be the real deal, but I wish him luck. I hope he can, but I'm not banking on it. So it's like any good thing that this guy does is almost like a bonus to me, because I just don't think he's the real deal. And look, he flies right to America and meets with Bill Clinton and a Biden aide. Someone messaged me from Argentina, was like, yo, a lot of us are afraid of this guy. I was like, why? He's like, well, the first thing he did was go to America. Like imagine if like American politician wins the presidency and like Trump wins, and within 3 days, he's like flying to a foreign country and then flying. It's like, all right, dude, I get you got to do business and stuff. But long story short, with Elon, I guess I don't really expect him to be anything. So the fact that he can go on Twitter with the biggest platform in the world and point out things that even the GOP doesn't want to point out about certain groups hating other groups, but like you're not allowed to say it. And hate goes all ways, but when only certain groups can say you hate them, but you can't say that you hate them, and these groups do this, but you can't say it, and BLM does this, but you can't talk about it, but they could put their thing on the end zone, but you can't disagree with it, and they could burn down your neighborhood, but it doesn't matter, and they could say this, but you can't say that. You create inequality and you create more tension. It's got to, the First Amendment's good because everybody could just say what they want, and I think it works better that way. Now you have a bunch of like, I'm not blaming women because there's passive aggressive men too, but this like feminine energy of everybody's like so passive aggressive, everyone's talking behind their backs, it's like crying to the HR. Like the whole way our society works is so fake now. This might be a completely, I guess, separate radical opinion that I probably shouldn't even share publicly, but I think I have before. I'm not saying every HR department should be abolished because I don't think that that's true, but like the whole, like if I ran a company and then I had to create just like a HR department of like 100 people to just sit there and like cry all the time, it's like, I don't know. At the end of the day, like go get a new job, if you didn't like it. Like, oh my gosh, even the Lizzo thing. I don't know what Lizzo did, so I really shouldn't speak on this too much, but everyone's like, oh my gosh, she called people fat. It's kind of funny because she's fat, but in general, like, oh, they didn't like working for her. Then go work for someone else. I don't understand it. Like, say she was a total tyrant and she was horrible. Quit. I don't know what to tell you. I've had bad bosses too. I didn't sit there and cry about, go get a freaking new job. I had 30 jobs before I did this. And if I didn't like a place, it's like, go somewhere else. Unless they're doing something so profoundly crazy that it's like earth-shatteringly evil. If it's just your boss is a psychopath, okay, go work for another guy. I don't understand the whole dynamic of our society, but I guess that makes me unpopular. I don't know. Anyway, back to the topic. Elon bought Twitter, transparent with a lot of the emails and a lot of stuff, showed that the government was working with it, brought hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not more, I can't count, people back to the platform that were kicked off. A lot of the people he brought back are people I like, because it seems like the most honest people are the ones always getting axed. Some of the people he brought back I don't like, but I'm glad he brought them back anyway, because that's the public square of Twitter. And he's basically he's not perfect at it by any means, but he's trying to uphold the Constitution of America and say, listen, I understand that certain things are this and that, and I don't agree with this or that, but if we don't have free speech in this country, we don't have anything, and that's what I'm trying to stand on. And look who gets mad at him: the Anti-Defamation League, a bunch of corporations. They start calling him anti-Semitic to take the company down. Why is that the label that's going to take his company down? What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? It's so obvious. And I'm sorry, but I've talked about this since 2019. I figured this stuff out. Trump and DeSantis passed speech legislation to push through hate speech laws in schools, executive orders, bills, with kids' schools and stuff. And if you read the bill, it doesn't just say, yeah, anti-Semitism is bad. It defines anti-Semitism, and it expands the list of what it means to 15, 16 things. And I'm sorry, it's not First Amendment friendly at all. And Elon Musk is finding this out the hard way. If you believe in the First Amendment, they're going to call you anti-Semitic. If you believe in the First Amendment, a bunch of groups are going to come after you, but you can't even say they're coming after you, because then they'll call you anti-Semitic for saying it. And you certainly can't say that there's certain groups of certain religions and ethnicities that are doing exactly what they claim to hate to other groups. You absolutely can't say that, because then they're going to pull their advertisers. And when they pull their advertisers, they're going to say it's anti-Semitic that you said that advertisers were pulled. It's like, this is the matrix. This is the system we live in. Trump and DeSantis are like two, they run around and say good stuff. I'm interested in the debate with Newsom. I think it is going to be engaging, but in reality, this is the third rail of politics. If you don't understand this, you don't understand anything. With Javier Milei, I'm just being honest, like, the guy wins in Argentina, and the first thing he does as a libertarian is say he's going to put his country on the US petrodollar. What type of libertarian wants to give their government up? He's basically Milei. And I don't care, because I'm American. So it's like, all right, give us your government, buddy. I don't give a crap. I'm not the one that's going to get it. I'm a worker. But in general, it's like he just takes Argentina and just gives it to America and Israel. He's like, here you go. Take it. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like he comes to America, meets with Bill Clinton, says he's going to change to our currency. It's like he wants to be just like us. We're not libertarian. I mean, we try to be in theory, but America, look at America right now. We have our issues. I know our economy is good, but our country's going in the wrong direction. So if you're Argentinian, you're like, here, you take it. It's like, what is America going to do with it? And then what country is he going to fly to next? The same place that Elon just flew to meet with the leader. It's like, it's all good. Everybody does business. I'm not asking people to not be allies, but this is the dynamic of what's going on in America. You have a bunch of left-wingers that have lost their minds. I don't know what they're doing. It's like late stage, communist Marxist brainwashing, where they literally don't even know what gender they are. They're all depressed and on meds. And, the elites like that because they sell the meds. So it's like, all these people like Nancy Pelosi and even Trump, it's like, they're doing deals with the pharmaceutical industry. They don't care what's going on. And then you go to the right wing, and it's like, it's all, in my opinion, just like a cartoon show where they say all these things, they don't do it. And then all of your favorite leaders, from Nikki Haley's not your favorite, but Trump, DeSantis, all these people, they're all passing anti-Semitism speech laws through government. So if you think it's coincidental that Elon Musk is saying that they're trying to destroy his whole company, the corporations, and they're using the word anti-Semitism to do it, if you think that's a coincidence, you're wrong. I've already told you the blueprint of how it's going down from 2019, and everyone called me hateful and made up all these names, and now the media calls me far right and this and that. It's BS. It's because the same reason they're doing it to Elon Musk. I believe in the First Amendment. If this racial group, say black or Asian or whatever, can talk about like European people, but European people can't even defend themselves or talk about them, now you don't have America. There is no First Amendment. You have lopsided Marxist social justice where certain groups are allowed to have just impunity to do whatever they want and say whatever they want, and other groups can't even have an opinion about it. It only raises tension, and they have to know that unless they're idiots. I just don't think they care about the tension they're raising. If we're all going to live together diversely, we have to have equal laws. You can't have one group and one religion that has 20 speech laws that you could take down a company if they say something you disagree with, even if it's true. And then other groups, they can't even say anything. They can't even exist while you're writing articles saying that they shouldn't even exist and that they should be a minority. It's like, it's insanity. So, this is, I would say, a huge issue in politics that people are learning more and more and more and more, because it's so blatantly obvious. Like, once you start figuring out what's going on, I don't talk about this stuff because I want to. Trust me, this is one of my least favorite topics to talk about, because the stakes are really high. The media goes psychotic on me, and it's pretty much why I'm blacklisted from the Republican Party, because most of it's just a controlled opposition jump off for a bunch of people to wear cowboy hats, get wasted, cheat on their spouses, and pretend like they're doing stuff for you while they're selling you out to corporations in foreign countries. But it's not my favorite topic to talk about. How could you not talk about it when the guy who wins in Argentina, he's like literally saying he wants to convert to a religion, visiting people, visiting Bill Clinton, then he's going to fly to the US and Israel. It's like, I didn't ask him to do that. I'm just reporting the news. And when it comes to Elon, they're trying to take down his entire company, major corporations, I guess Disney, other ones. They're coming together and saying, your platform's too anti-Semitic, because Media Matters ran a story and showed an ad on some crazy piece of content that apparently had only a few impressions that were probably from Media Matters. Like, it was like refresh, click, click, click. It seems like one of those situations from afar, just my unprofessional analysis or professional opinion, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. That's what they were doing. Like, it seems like that's what Elon says they were doing. So it's like, okay. And then why did they spend the time to do that? Why did they try to frame it that way? It's because Elon Musk tweeted the day before a few things, including that he noticed that certain organizations that happen to be something that you're not allowed to talk about were doing what they claim to hate. But that's the whole structure. It's like, that's fine. Double standards are fine. Hypocrisy is fine. And to be fair, I'm not blaming one group for hypocrisy and double standards, because everybody does it. So Trump supporters do it all the time. It's like, DeSantis did this, I hate him. It's like, okay, well, Trump did that too. Well, I don't care when Trump does it because I just don't care about what I actually say. Everybody's a hypocrite. Everybody has double standards. So I'm sure people are like, whatever, it's a dog-eat-dog world. We're just going to do this and nobody's going to say anything about it. And Elon, richest person in the world, apparently can't keep his company open without all the advertisers, because there are layers to how you can even function. And maybe this is an insight to how Facebook and YouTube work and how they've been swallowed up by that. How do you beat it? Some people will say, anomaly, this is conservatism. This is libertarianism. It's like the free market, right? Allow the corporations to decide. If they don't want it, then, they don't have to work with Elon, and that's just the free market deciding stuff. It's not free, though. Here's my issue. Say with like telecoms, it's like, can you go create your own phone and your own 5G network? Maybe, but here's the thing. When Trump built the 5G towers in March, which nobody realized because they locked the country down, look it up. There was an executive order where he put 5G everywhere. In general, when that happened, it's like, why is the government doing it? If it's a free market, why is the government passing an executive order to expand the networks of these telecom companies? Can I start a telecom company and get the 5G networks that Trump was building around the country, or his administration was during COVID? Like, no, it's not free. Can I create a pharmaceutical product and get $18 billion from the government? Like, it's not free. Pfizer, nothing about Operation Warp Speed was capitalist. So this is my problem with the people who will act like they're so principled and say, well, if all these advertisers leave Elon Musk, then, that's just the free market at work. Except the market's not even free. How many of these companies are getting subsidies? How many of these companies work with the government? How many of these companies are doing what Twitter did, which it's basically is the government, and they're basically just blackmailing and bad-mouthing and silencing all of their competition all over the place so they can have basically a monopoly on certain industries. And then once you get all that money from doing it that way, the socialist, corporatist / government way, then you have all this money and power, and you're like, okay, let's do the free market now. I got all my stuff. It's like, well, now it's not free. You wiped out all the competition. You worked with government. You got contracts. You got subsidies. You had executive orders that boosted you above your competition. You made it illegal in some cases to not even get your thing. And I would say in California, they have a mandate, so you have to buy health insurance. Who was Gavin Newsom dining with when he was doing the French laundry thing? It was a bunch of health insurance people. How much money has he made them? Because in California, you can't even opt out. You know what I'm saying? They've taken over the industry. When you couldn't not get you couldn't go to work, and so many families were facing do I feed my kids or do I not? I didn't budge, but in general, some people didn't budge, and I think they got rewarded for it. But a lot of people did budge because there were 2 companies at the time, or 3: Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and they're like, you have to get one of these 3 products, or you're not going to be able to work here. You got to get one of these 3 products. That's not capitalism. That's not free market. So a lot of ways these companies operate. Even Disney, and DeSantis is a really good example, is Disney had all these weird government contracts and government I would say special laws because they're Disney and they just were such a big part of the economy. But then they're going to push all this degeneracy and weird stuff to the kids. And it's why are we giving them all this extra stuff to edge out the competition when in reality, they don't deserve it anymore, or if ever. So it's, you start to see, I do understand why people will say, well, this is just the corporations doing what they're doing. Yeah, but how many of them are operating under the free market, and how many of them are benefiting from socialist policies or government, corporatist, fascist? I don't really care what you call it, as long as you know what it is. It is what it is. But I would say, the solution is Elon saying, I'm just going to tell people. You know what I'm saying? That's what he said. You could take it. You could destroy Twitter. And as somebody, I do Facebook, I do Instagram, I do YouTube. For TikTok banned me for nothing. For years, I've known, even before Elon bought Twitter, I always felt like Twitter was more free. Since Elon bought it, I feel like it's even better, and he brought people back. If you really want to say something, you say it on Twitter. When they write articles about me, they reference what I said on Twitter, because I say more ballsy stuff on Twitter, because I know you're allowed to, because it's an open platform. So it's I've always appreciated Twitter, where I'll just say stuff, and on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, everybody's walking a tightrope because the people who run it are psychopaths. And it's unless you can get a deal from Rumble or somebody else to sponsor you, in a certain way, it's you just work around it. Some people are behind the paywall, I'll say more real stuff. Me, I have a Telegram page, I have a Twitter. So it's not, I don't see it as I'm such a victim or anything. It's just all right, well, I'll say this here, I'll say this here. I try to make it so it's palatable and not just seeming insane and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's well, that's how these companies operate. During COVID, I would have loved if they were fair, but they weren't fair. Facebook wasn't fair. YouTube wasn't fair. I did well on them, even amongst that. But it's if I had a business where I had to pay employees and stuff, they could have bankrupted my business, because I'm making all this money, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm getting all these views, and they take it away, and there's no customer service. They reference me to a freaking fact checker in France. I'm you scumbags, I'm an American citizen. You scumbags and your American company are telling me that you have a nonpartisan fact checker that I have to talk to in France. I need France to take away my First Amendment in an American company. It's disgusting what they're doing. And Elon, say what you want about him, I don't care if you trust him, probably shouldn't, but in general, he's the only one who's listen, I'm going to buy this platform. He's realer than Trump. Truth Social doesn't even go as far as Twitter does in some ways. And Trump would never take the stand that Trump caves on that topic that Elon Musk is getting in trouble for. But Elon's listen, this is what I'm doing. The First Amendment works for a reason. There might be things that you don't like, but here's the thing. We don't like what you're saying. We don't like the media. What you did during COVID was insane. And this is what they do. They use a victim card. They use this, oh my gosh, no, that's so much worse than that. And they're pumping out some of the most evil, degenerate, horrible stuff that now has no competition, because they've brainwashed people to think that the competition is far right, or the competition is Trump, or the competition is anti-science. They have a word for everything. But that's why they're so frightened of a guy who has a platform that upholds the First Amendment, because when the First Amendment is there, everyone can see through the BS. That's why you need to say that certain topics are super, super off limits, because it's like with even an ounce of scrutiny, you'll realize that it doesn't hold up. And with the internet, with artificial intelligence, etc., I think it's going to be hard to keep that illusion alive, because even over the last 2 years or so, especially over the last couple of months, there's just so much more sharing of information and challenging narratives, where you now see that a lot of these left-wing Marxist kids that they brainwashed are now turning against the major corporations. They're turning against Hillary Clinton. They're turning against the schools. The big donors are mad. Now they're pulling their money all of a sudden because they only care when it's about a foreign country, not America. And it's like they've lost their little minions. All these left-wingers that they brainwashed are now turning against the system that they thought that they would support. It's like, why did you think left-wingers were going to support Hillary Clinton or Israel? Like, I don't know what people were thinking, but it's like you go down this path, you make kids depressed, you confuse them, and then you give them a narrative and like, oh, and then they're like working against certain topics that you thought they'd be on your side for. And it's like, well, that's like late stage, like brainwashing Marxism, where then, you know, your own side turns against you and the whole thing always collapses. It's always like a very short spurt. And in my view, the reason it happens, and I think the reason certain people are so angry, is because, like how Elon Musk was saying, well, let Earth decide. At the end of the day, nature heals itself. God wins. You know, you can't lie forever. You can't censor forever. Like, you try so hard to censor, and then all of a sudden, over the course of 3-4 years, you know, 90% of people have figured out what you didn't want them to figure out. You try to control the narrative on COVID and say this, and this. Eventually, it shatters. I mean, Big Pharma made an absolute fortune, but you know, what people believe about COVID and lockdowns and masks today is not what they believed 2 years ago. So, you know, and not to get off topic, but when people say Trump rushed the vaccine to save the world, that's a stupid cope, because people idol worship the guy. In reality, it would have always fallen apart. You know what I'm saying? This wouldn't have lasted forever. He didn't rush the vaccine so he could save the whole world from a 4-year lockdown. He rushed it because the only way that product was ever going to work if they got it out super quickly while everybody was still scared. Trump did that for the pharmaceutical industry, his donors and the lobbyists. He didn't do it for you. But this is how brainwashed people on the right are. And then they make fun of left-wingers, and left-wingers are going and saying, you know, everybody goes crazy because they're so into like the left and the right and the red and the blue and the Trump and it's like no one can think anymore. And you know, Elon, we'll see where he goes, but a lot of the stuff he says is so much deeper than even 99% of Republicans. And I'm not saying to vote for him, and I'm not saying he's your best friend, and I don't think he should run for president or anything. But at the same time, you know, I just call it like I see it. When Trump was out here in 2017 saying a bunch of real stuff, I appreciated it. Now he's almost 80 years old and he turned into a pharmaceutical scammer. But, you know, he still says some real stuff. When I listen to Trump, I just hear like an actor and a clown now, though. I don't know. He seems very fake to me. But, you know, some people still like it. That's fine. With Elon, he's very authentic. I think he's way more genuine than a lot of people in the GOP. And when he says stuff like this, how could you not feel it? How could you not feel it?
Because we're talking about power and influence, and
I'm saying what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Fuck them. Okay?
I mean, I felt that in my soul. But I'm not wearing a Baphomet suit and putting a computer chip in my head or anything. I'm just saying, I appreciate Elon for talking about certain topics that most people won't talk about. And in my view, he's done more in the last 2 to 3 years to break the false paradigm, to break the information stronghold, to say things that nobody will say and do things that no one will do. He's done more in the last 2 years to do that than Trump and the GOP combined. And I don't trust DeSantis at all. I'm interested to see the debate. But the thing I liked about DeSantis is after he messed up during COVID, DeSantis turned around and started doing the right thing for 2 years while Trump was on a vaccine sales tour. And it's like, you know, actions speak louder than words to me. So it's like, even with all the sneaky stuff DeSantis does, he did do a lot of good stuff in Florida, and he did fight the COVID mandate, and he did fight the narrative, which is important. This is the one thing that I'm not going to say I'll never forgive, but I don't forgive Trump for now, is he wasn't fighting the narrative from like 2021, 2022. DeSantis is doing all this stuff, and Trump's running around trying to oversell the vaccine like a Bill Gates scammer. And it's like he's just like a shameless shill, and he didn't even care about the people. You could just tell. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is talking about it, DeSantis is talking about it, I'm talking about it. And it's like, it's one of those things where from those 2 years, I felt like after liking Trump a lot more, I was like, DeSantis has done way more for the American people during these 2 years than Trump did times 30. And that's why he was so popular until the Trump arrest. And all of a sudden people forgot. And then it's like over the last 2 to 3 years, Elon Musk is the same way. Like he's done more for me than DeSantis, Trump, and everyone combined times 40 just by being out here cracking narratives, saying certain stuff. Because culturally, like we got to figure stuff out, because with the politicians playing ping pong, nothing will ever change until there's like a cultural awakening. And in many ways there has been, but I think Elon's going even further and just noticing and saying certain things that are like way more ballsy than anybody will ever say. And it's like, he's going to almost lose his company for it. I do appreciate it. And, I think a lot of the GOP stands with him too, because they know Elon's not like a flaming libtard who hates him. He's like a ballsy businessman who has more balls and cojones than most of the GOP. So we'll see what happens. That's my opinion about it. Let me know in the comments what you think. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I just want to sum this up. I don't have to, but I'm just being honest. This is who I am. I don't think you should ever hate anybody because of their race, religion, gender, etc. I'm not that type of person. I'm not advocating for that. That's always how they spin what I said a million times. I'm just being honest. Among the races, the religions, the 10 billion genders that there are, whatever, the only way that people can really have somewhat of peace is if there's some sort of honesty. You can't have certain groups that can say and do whatever they want, and it's not considered hate speech, but then a group says the same thing that you just said and it is hate speech. Like that's not the American way. It's not any country's way. It's like a perverted, it's like being under Sharia law, but instead of being under like God's law and Muslim law, you're under like Satan's law. Like it's even worse than these countries where they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this and that. I'm not saying everything's right in Islamic countries. It's not true, but it's like they're trying to uphold God's law and like ban degeneracy, but it doesn't always work. I'm just saying. In America, it's like, what is this new law that like you can do this, but you can't do this? This race can do this, but you can, like, whose law is that? That's not God's law. That's not Islam. That's not it's like demonic, satanic, like Marxist upside down world, and everybody's miserable because of it, including the people perpetuating it. There's no way you could be happy pushing this nonsense. What makes you happy is like basic things in life: family, vacations, downtime, friends, laughter. Everybody likes it. Like, who likes San Francisco? Who likes living in shit? Who likes New York used to be an amazing city? It's going down the drains. Like, come on. Who benefits from this? People got to snap out of it, because the only way that this country works for everyone is when we have honest conversations. You can't try to blacklist and ban a whole company because they said one thing that you didn't want to say, and you're not even willing to say that it's not true. They'll call it hate speech, but they'll never say he lied. You notice that? They're like, this is anti-Semitic, this is racist, this is sexist, this is anti-science, this is climate denial. They have all these words, but it's like, why don't you explain why it's not true? Because there are some things that are hateful, but then there are some things that aren't hateful that you just keep saying are hateful. Like, it's not anti-science to say that the Jacob Shavin Glacier was the fastest melting glacier. They were saying like it was like one of the most melting glaciers in the world, and then it like grew for a couple of years. Like, that's actual science. I'm not saying that we're not experiencing changes in the climate, but it's like you can't just throw that word onto everything. And I'm going to say this real quick before I move on. We'll see what happens, but I do personally think with the word racism and anti-Semitism especially, and anti-science, I mean, I'll go through them all. Like, people are now vaccinating their kids less than they have in a long time. Why is that? Because they overplayed their hand. They called everything anti-science, and now people don't trust vaccines at all because of how the media perceived it. So it's like you try to get everyone to do this, and now you're having record lows. Like, you failed or you succeeded if you're trying to get people to not vaccinate their kids. When it comes to racists, 20 years ago, it's like, oh my gosh, a racist, where? That's horrible. Now I just assume you're lying until you show me the evidence. And I'm like, okay, that is really messed up. Like, I've seen some stuff where I'm like, that's pretty messed up. But everything's racist. Now no one thinks that you're telling the truth anymore because you use that word too much. And anti-Semitism, they're calling Elon Musk anti-Semitism. Every protest, go to the California GOP Instagram right now, and their entire feed is just calling anti-Semitic, and literally their whole feed is calling people anti-Semitic. Every Democrat's anti-Semitic because they won't condemn the protests. It looks insane. insane. They look like, if that was one of my friends, I would be like, you've gone insane. You know what I'm saying? Your whole feed is like, it's like, go look at the California GOP's Instagram. It's literally psychotic. It's like overusing that word and just pushing it everywhere all the time. Left wing, right wing, you. Now in a year, or now even, it's like no one, if you would have said 4 years ago that right winger's anti-Semitic, everyone on the left would have been like, wow, that's terrible. Now you've just called the entire left wing anti-Semitic because they're protesting for Palestine. And now they don't care about that word. And most right wingers don't care about it. You call Trump anti-Semitic, even though he supports Israel. You call DeSantis anti-Semitic, even though he's like the least anti-Semitic person out there. All he does is do stuff for, the donors that don't exist. You call Elon Musk anti-Semitic, Joe Rogan's anti-Semitic, Donald Trump's anti-Semitic, so now when people hear that word, they're just like, okay, the only thing on the side is that it's being passed into legislation, into American law. So if you're going for certain defamation cases, I would assume now they're referencing some of the stuff that Trump, DeSantis, Democrats, and Republicans passed, because they're taking a new definition of the word that was created in 2014 or 2016 by the I got to look it up again, IHRA, I think it's called. So, that is going on. But as far as, all over the world, just look at what's going on. People are tired of the normal narrative, like in Ireland. Is everyone in Ireland really racist? No, it's just that their country is experiencing problems, and when they point out the problems they're experiencing, they get called racist or Islamophobic, and it doesn't work. It's like it doesn't work anymore. Elon, you could take his company. I don't know if that's going to work or not with the major corporations, etc. But he says that if they do, he's going to document it, and the people will decide. Let me know what you think. And I do see like redirection of money for American citizens, even that new trend of like how people are supporting things they believe in and companies they believe in. This is all good stuff. Like I always try to buy healthy products. There's certain things that people have a monopoly on, like computers. You can't like buy a Patriot computer. I mean, you could try, but it probably won't work well. But where we can, I think we need to realize, like, if Elon, if the companies do try to kick off Twitter, Elon's going to be really good at documenting it and showing you how it happened. And I think that that will probably spur a massive boycott that makes the last Bud Light and Disney boycott look like nothing, and I think that's all people really have, because, if these companies are going to just try to take away the only public social media square on the internet, what else do you really do? Let me know what you guys think. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I'm out, and I'll be back to do a reaction to DeSantis versus Newsom later. Regardless of what you think of Newsom, regardless of what you think of DeSantis, I do think that this is an important debate that's probably more important than any Trump rally or any debate stage with Vivek and DeSantis and Chris Christie, because, it's like red state versus blue state. I don't trust Sean, CIA pin Hannity to do a good job with the interview, but hopefully it goes well, and hopefully, like, the Republican side looks good, in my opinion. I mean, this is like really putting your ideas to the test. And I regardless of what you think of the two, I can't think of two governors that represent their side better. Personally, I think DeSantis is the best person to represent the Republican governor side. I know some people were saying, I like Kristi Noem. She's cool, and she definitely did a better job with COVID, I think. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't think she would be as strong as a debater, as strong with the ideas. And then Newsom represents everything wrong with the Democratic Party, but he's pretty smooth and, slithery and good at. So I'm kind of pumped about this. I'm not going to lie. It's like a kabuki theater that I'm actually interested in. It's Kardashian season 7 that I want to see. I wish DeSantis luck. I hope he makes liberal and far left-wing ideas look dumb and makes some conservative ideas look good. And I hope it's a domestic debate, and they don't talk about foreign policy all the time. It's not that I don't want to hear what they have to say, but it's like, you're the governor of California. You're the governor of Florida. Can we talk about America one time? Like, they talked about Israel the whole last debate. They talk about Ukraine. Can we talk about America? Can we talk about like California, San Francisco, Florida, Miami? Like, can we do that once without like making this a whole fest of like how much you like another country more? Well, I have a Ukraine pin on my flag. Well, I have 7 on my car. Cool, dude. Can we please debate about the freaking states? That's all I ask. If they go on a tangent like I do every podcast, I'm gonna be annoyed. Appreciate you guys. God bless. I'm out. Check out dreamrare.com. You already know we got black beanies. I bought a lot. I was afraid they were gonna go out of stock, So I got them. Check them out, dreamrare.com. For the holidays, get somebody you love a God bless hat or a God is great sweatshirt. Appreciate you. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk. For $5 a month, you can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying, so I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. DreamRareChat at Telegram. My Instagram is @DreamRare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And DreamRareLinks.com. That's DreamRareLinks.com. Has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at DreamRareLinks.com. Thanks for